Looking back on the week that was and forward to the week ahead. It's the Fantasy Football Hustle. Here are your hosts, Brian Drake and Dwain McFarland.
All across the fantasy universe, get excited. Welcome to week 12 of the Fantasy Football Hustle, powered by Pro Football Focus. I am Brian Drake, joined as always by the analytical assassin, PFF.com senior fantasy analyst, Dwain McFarland. Dwain, how are you, my friend?
Man, I'm doing good. Heading into week 12, Thanksgiving week, Drake.
I know.
You know, it's a good week. It's a good week. We get football. We get 3 games, on Thursday. So yeah, I've always loved this week. Like ever since I was little.
Yep.
It's just, I don't know. It's a football holiday to me. But I guess growing up here, like the Cowboys have always played on Thanksgiving. So it's just kind of been that way.
It's great. I mean, what a great tradition. I mean, everybody loves to sit around and watch football. If you're listening to this podcast, obviously you love football, and these Thanksgiving games probably mean a lot to you too. But it's got to be so cool being in Dallas, knowing that you have the game. I mean, do you go to the game on Thanksgiving ever?
No, I haven't. We go to games, but I typically, like Thanksgiving Day, we're running all over the place. Mostly just everybody wants to see our kids. They don't care about us, Drake, but everybody wants to see the kids. You know how that goes.
I know.
So it's like, we've got like 4 things to do, in one day. This year we've got three things. And then plus, I'll be trying to kind of do some PFF stuff, throughout the day as well. So it'll be an interesting day, but I can remember most of the games. Like I remember them, something about every game. Like the one that sticks out to me the most was the Randy Moss game after the Cowboys didn't pick him and they took Greg Ellis and he went nuts. He scored 3 touchdowns that day. Patrick Jeffers for the Dallas Cowboys he had a good day too. That was a good fantasy. You could have stacked Patrick Jeffers with Randy Moss and Chris Carter that day and Randall Cunningham. You would have done good, Drake.
Oh my gosh, we're digging deep here.
1998, man.
I know. It's a senior in high school and also freshman in college, ruling the world. Those were my glory days back then. Had nice hair, could drink more than 1 beer and not fall asleep. Oh, that was the day. So, folks, on tonight's show, we're going to walk through Dwain's utilization report that's live at PFF.com. Touch on the major stories in fantasy football. Prepare you for the week that is week 12 in fantasy football. Follow the show on Twitter at FF Hustle. I'm at Drake Fantasy. Of course, Dwain is at Dwain McFarland. Well, what we want you to do too, head over to PFF.com. You know, we've been telling you guys, for 8 months now, go there and use our promo code HUSTLE and save 25%. If you haven't done that, if you've been slacking, well, bank error in your favor. Use promo code CYBER40 and you're going to save 40% off a rest of the year subscription at PFF.com. The grades and the data are live for every single player who logged a snap last week. Go check out the highest graded players from week 11 and get an early look at the point spreads, the player props, all the locked articles, college, betting, you name it. It's all there at PFF.com. Cyber 40% off. This is when Dwain, sidebar. I know we do our stuff at the top of the show. I get so many great subscriptions. I get like The Athletic for $1 and all these other sites. This is the weekend to do it, man. Black Friday is the best time to buy stuff. And Cyber 40, saving 40% off PFF subs, man. Take advantage.
Yeah, everybody loves to sell, Drake. Like it's Black Friday. Like what else are you gonna do?
Yeah, I'm gonna sit on my ass and I'm gonna hope Dick's put some golf balls on sale so that I can get some more golf balls to lose around the woods of upstate New York. Make sure to catch me every weekend with Andrew Erickson. Sundays, 7 to 9 is the game day show. If that's not your thing, how about Saturday? We're there too, 3 to 5. SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. What a week it was, Dwain, in fantasy football. All the pleasantries are over with. We're opening the Neon Rainbows from Brewery Omegang here in upstate New York, where I reside. Jonathan Taylor went for 5 touchdowns, 53 PPR points. Not to be outdone, our guy Austin Eckler notched 41 of his own. Justin Jefferson had a day, $169, 2 touchdowns, and our old friend Jalen Hurts scored 30 fantasy points without throwing a single touchdown pass. Yes, what a week it was, but that was last week. We don't chase those points. Nope, we look ahead and set our sights to what's next in fantasy And what's next is this 3-game slate on Thanksgiving. So as we go around and talk the news and notes, let's start in Dallas with your hometown Cowboys. Now, this is a team that could be without Amari Cooper. Well, we know they'll be without Amari Cooper on the COVID list, potentially without CeeDee Lamb due to a concussion. So we could be looking at a team with Michael Gallup, Cedric Wilson, Noah Brown. We've got Zeke banged up, coming off, a lackluster showing against the Chiefs. So let's start there with your Cowboys and this passing offense. People are going to be wondering, if Gallup's available, obviously, do I pick him up? Do I add a few bucks, onto Cedric Wilson, Noah Brown in a super deep league? Dalton Schultz, what's his role going to be? So let's just open it up. I'm sure you could talk for days on these Cowboys. Let's get it going there.
Yeah, I mean, we know we're going to be without Amari Cooper. We'll have to see with Lamb, but it's feeling like he's probably not going to play since he didn't even get in a limited session today. And if you look at Gallup last week, he was, in a good spot. I mean, it didn't work out. Gallup struggled a little bit so far this year with man coverage. He's getting open far less than Amari or CeeDee Lamb against that. But having said that, Dak Prescott trusts him in man coverage. Even when he's covered, he's willing to throw him, those jump 50-50 balls, the type of stuff that we know Derek Carr won't do, right, with his receivers. Dak is willing to do some of that. So I think Gallup's still safe. He handled 22% of the targets per route run last week. 24% of the team's targets. And so I would expect him to be, if Lamb's out, like he's going to be 25 to 30% of the offense. I would expect Dalton Schultz to probably see 20 to 25% of the targets as well. And then we'll have to see, what happens with Cedric Wilson. I'm sure the Cowboys' game plan here, Drake, will be to get out to a lead against the Raiders so they can really use the run game. You did mention Zeke, so I'd expect a little bit more for Pollard this week. But Zeke's playing. He's not even on the injury report. Says he's going to play through the injury. So I'm expecting, almost full, Zeke. If they get out, to a big lead, he may not play his normal complement of snaps, but it's just going to be hard to not use him. I've got him ranked right now, RB13 on the week. I've got Pollard sitting down at RB30, so about where I normally have him, but he could have a little bit more upside. I mean, it's the second highest total on the slate. Implied points of 29 is actually number 1 on the slate for the Cowboys. So we're expecting a lot of points here. So I think, you can use all of these guys.
They're playing against the Las Vegas Raiders. I tweeted out during the game, basically because I thought Derek Carr was going to cost me money. This team is lost, Dwain. Absolutely lost. Carr has regressed. The coaching is abysmal. It's a shell of a team because of all of the things that have happened to it. You know what, really? We love to bang on people here in fantasy and Twitter and podcasting. Oh, this guy sucks and blah, blah, blah. This team has really gone through a lot in the past just 4 weeks. But they look terrible. But we got to glean some things from this. Waller looked better. Now, he'll still never score a touchdown in my lifetime, but he looked better. And we saw some signs of life from Deshaun Jackson. And maybe that's helping Darren Waller a little bit. But in terms of, Jacobs and Drake and these other guys, I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just all kind of a mess.
Yeah, I mean, it is a mess. Not having the deep threat is hurting them. You saw Jackson work his routes up to 30% this week. And it's really more about what he does for the rest of the team when he's out there, because Bryan Edwards is not doing it. Bryan Edwards is failing to win, in his single man coverage matchups. And maybe some quarterbacks would throw those balls to Edwards more 50-50, but we've seen Carr. He's a type of, quarterback. He's willing to go vertical, but he wants to throw it to the player that's going to run under the ball, right? He doesn't want to throw up the 50-50 chance it gets tipped to a safety, things like that. That's just, he never has really done that. And so I don't know. I also tend to think that he just doesn't trust Bryan Edwards, right? I mean, Bryan Edwards is out there all the damn time, and his targets per route on the season is 11%. That tells me that there's something going on with Edwards. If he was really a good player, I don't think Carr just doesn't like Bryan Edwards. But we know that Carr has a certain style about him. So Jackson's really the better fit. He helps spread out the field, stretch things vertically. He was only out there for 10 routes, but on 6 of those 10 routes, he actually received double coverage or help coverage, and 40% of Waller's yardage came with Deshaun Jackson on the field. So it's really about what can he do to help out the other weapons underneath, because right now, Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow, amazingly, like they're both seeing more help and double coverage. I think Hunter Renfrow is right around 25% that he saw help or double coverage, and Waller was around 30% this past week. So, I mean, not the end of the world for those two players, but it just shows you, like you said, the offense is different. Everyone's creeping down. The other thing is, they've talked openly that they're using the running backs more, and it's not because they want to. They don't trust the outside receivers. I mean, that's all this really comes down to. It's been good for Josh Jacobs because over the last 3 games, his targets per route run, 25%, 26%, 35%. This is a back we know he can catch the ball, but we've never seen him get this type of utilization. He had 28% of the team's targets last week, Drake. Still somehow only finished as RB 18 despite 28%. Like, that's Christian McCaffrey target share type stuff, right? That's like what we see from an Alvin Kamara. But still, it's helpful to Jacobs. We were without Jalen Richard last week, so he should. I don't know. I can't say he should. I know he had a limited practice on Monday. I got to go check and see what he did today. But we could get Richard back. That gave a little bump to Jacobs, Drake, because before Richard was handling all the 2-minute offense, this last week, 73% of the 2-minute offense snaps went to Josh Jacobs. So I see Jacobs as a low-end RB2. But if he continues to see these kind of targets just because it's just going to be everything underneath, it won't be pretty to your point, but like in a PPR format, it's going to only help Jacobs.
Yeah, I need just Waller to score a touchdown. Josh Jacobs, I don't owe him on any team.
That sounded like just Waller to score a touchdown. It's like you were just throwing up a prayer. Like,
please, God. I was without Hollywood Brown last week. I put in my guy Marcus Big Dick Johnson, and they throw a fade to him in the corner of the end zone in a monsoon in Tennessee, and I just see the guy. If he doesn't get hurt, he probably catches this and scores. Like a sniper took him out from the 3rd level, hit the hamstring. He's down and out. Just the story of my year in fantasy football, but that's for another day. Well, I mentioned the Titans. They're in the news because they waived Adrian Peterson today. Dontrell Hilliard had 82 yards from scrimmage in place of McNichols this past week. We've seen a lot more of Deonta Foreman. We think he is a much better play. So, things are evolving here in Tennessee. They're going to have a game this week at the Patriots. Who knows? One week the Titans look like world beaters. Next week they're hot trash, losing to the Texans. So everyone's going to assume that the Patriots are going to boat race them. The way football goes in 2021, Titans win by 5. That's just the way it is. So anyways, people are going to want to know now, what do I do with this backfield? Dontrell Hilliard. We don't know yet about McNichols' status for this week, but it looks like if you're clearing AP off out of the way, you're kind of, you're telling us what you want to do. You want to have this kind of 3rd down scat back, and we're going to have Foreman out there, 1st and 2nd down thumping. Does this clear anything up for fantasy and make anybody playable, or it's still just a disaster and real low volume that we don't want to touch?
Well, I think it gets it closer to playable. I mean, the Titans still, as far as running the ball, now this last game, they trailed the whole time. Mm-hmm. But if you look at them in every game script, they are still well above the NFL averages as far as leaning to running versus passing. So they run the ball 6% more than the rest of the league when they trail by 4 or more points. They run the ball 7% more than the NFL average whenever the game is within 3. And whenever they're leading by 4 or more points, they run the ball 3% more than the rest, than the NFL average. So it's a situation where I think their total DNA is not going to change. And it's not like they have a bunch of receivers to throw to. So I think they would still be willing to lean on their running game if they could get it going, Drake. It's just a question of, can one of these guys get it going? I do think Foreman is the guy that has the chance now to really step into more of what Derrick Henry left behind. Obviously, he's not going to get all of that, but I could see him getting closer to all of what he and Peterson were getting together, So, I mean, last week, 35% of the rushing attempts to Peterson, 27% to Foreman. I don't think we're going to see a 3-way split between McNichols, Hilliard, and Foreman. I think Hilliard spelled McNichols. And I don't think that we're going to see 3 backs maybe involved. Maybe we will. But I really see McNichols and Hilliard really having the overlap in the roles, right? And Foreman having a completely separate role. There is a chance that if Adrian Peterson clears waivers, they could put him back on the practice squad and bring him up when they need him. So we'll have to wait and see. But, I mean, we could get to a situation. I think, Drake, you'll see Deonta Foreman take 55, 60% of the rushing attempts. As long as, you don't see the Titans get way behind. I can't tell you exactly what that's going to be worth. We haven't seen Foreman do much really with his opportunities. I know that first game we thought he looked a little bit better than Peterson. But this last game, Foreman didn't really do anything special. So, but volume is king. So if you're getting 60% of the rushing attempts in an offense that's willing to run the ball quite a bit, I do think there's a chance that we get value out of Foreman. The problem is right now, Drake, like this offense just looks terrible. Like I don't know how they're going to move the ball without, we're going to have to see what's going to happen with AJ Brown. He got knocked out of the game twice last week, first with a finger, then, he had I think it was a chest injury that he had later in the game. So we'll have to wait and see with Brown. I haven't even looked again at the practice reports for, today. I'm actually pulling one up right now while we're talking.
I'll tell you what else they did today at receiver. They signed Golden Tate to their practice squad.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. And so that'll be interesting to see what they do. And there's still nothing up yet. Is that when is that game? Is that game Monday? It's not, is it?
No, that's a Sunday afternoon game.
That's weird
Foxborough.
that there's not. That's stupid that there's not more information. Maybe it's just RotoWire's site's down. That's why I used to look at the injury stuff. I love theirs. But anyway, so yeah, we'll have to wait and see, with Brown. He had really he was in a great spot, really, and then of course, like we normally get with Brown, and I hate this, but he ran into injuries as soon as he really started to get going. So the biggest thing with the Titans, just, I don't know about their offense right now, Drake. Like can you name a weapon on the offense you're afraid of?
No. And I tweeted that actually during the game. I go, there's not a team in the AFC. And after this Sunday, when the Titans go into Foxborough and lose, the Patriots will be the 1 seed in the AFC. There's not a team in the AFC that's afraid to go play the Titans in the playoffs. I don't care about, as many faces as their coach wants to make on the sideline and getting gritty, and the defense is beat up. You got no running game.
Gritty.
You got a quarterback who's never going to make a throw. So nobody cares about the Titans. It's over for the Titans.
Yeah. I think Foreman, he's going to be in the high end RB3s for me. It's like, I'm going to want to see it a week. I kind of have a tier, Drake, usually each week, where it's like, okay, I know these situations have potentially improved, but now I really need to see it. So it's like you got the Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson coin flip thing going. You got the Deontay Foreman potentially moving up, getting more work. You got the mess in Seattle. There's stuff like that.
We'll get there.
It's borderline getting close to like the Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams type stuff. So I'll probably have Foreman. I've tiered him into tier 5. I haven't put an actual number next to his name. So like technically that's going to be somewhere between running back 26 and running back 32. Once I give him a number later tonight and update the ranks.
Hey, all we care about in that AFC South, just keep the Colts relevant so they keep playing Carson Wentz and we get that first round pick in Philly, baby. That's all we care.
You guys are going to be in good shape, I think.
Yeah, we'll see.
What you really need is just keep giving the ball to Jonathan Taylor. We finally have Frank Reich getting out of his own damn way and just saying, you know what? Just like every fantasy player has been saying like since week 1, coach finally caught up. He's like, oh, you know what? I think Jonathan Taylor's pretty good. He's been out there for over 80% of the snaps each of the last 2 weeks, getting involved in the pack. Dude, 70% of the 2-minute offense last week, Drake. How about that? If you give Jonathan Taylor an every down role, oh my God.
It's amazing when you say, like, you know what? Let's like pull back on Marlon Mack, and they got rid of Jordan Wilkins, and now you got Naheem Hines over there. Just give the ball to what is probably right now the best player in fantasy football in Jonathan Taylor, behind a really good offensive line. And this is something that, you could talk Colts, you could talk Eagles, you can talk 49ers, Patriots to an extent. What has the NFL done over the last few years? Defenses have gotten smaller at linebacker. You've gotten away from big run-stuffing defenses, and you want to cover the field now horizontally. You want to be able to run with these Travis Kelce's and all these speedy wide receivers. Well, guess what these teams are doing? They see you with your 220-pound middle linebacker, and they're mauling you, with pulling guards coming through and it veer blocks, and they're just running it down your throat. And it's old school football, and it's really you're playing. There's guys out there that say the Eagles play the Oklahoma offense, and it's kind of true, but that's what these teams are doing. They're just lining up, and they're saying, we're not going to have our quarterback lose the game for us, and we're going to run it down your throat. And I said it earlier, running backs may not matter, but running games do. And while we're on that subject, let's go to Philadelphia, where they just ran the ball as well as you could possibly run the ball on the team that was PFF's #1 ranked run defense, the New Orleans Saints. Now, again, the Saints are banged up. They're missing 2 offensive linemen. They're missing Alvin Kamara. Now going into their game, spinning it forward to Thursday, we also didn't see Mark Ingram practice today. So concern there, maybe we're looking at a Tony Jones Jr. edition very sneakily off the waiver wire. But the Eagles are a team where it kind of is what it is. We know they're going to run the ball, Dwayne, but we just saw Jordan Howard go out. So this now means you've got Boston Scott being elevated back into the mix against the Giants this week. He always kills the Giants. And Miles Sanders, who put the ball on the ground twice. If Miles Sanders continues to do that, he will not play. He would have been taken out of the game, and he was. But Jordan Howard got hurt, so they had to reinsert him back in the game, and that's kind of padded his numbers at the end. But what'd you see from the Eagles this week?
Yeah, I saw that before Miles Sanders fumbled, he was in good shape. Like he was at like 70% of the snaps before that fumble. So like he was potentially on his way to just having a great day. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I think he's definitely the best back they have on the team. So we'll see if he can hang on to it this week and what happens. He and Scott are more stylistically similar than different, right? Versus Jordan Howard was the real different player, out of this group, because Kenneth Gainwell is almost more along the lines of, Scott, right? So we'll have to see how they handle it. But I think Miles Sanders is in a good spot, finishes the RB20, only handling 34% of the rushing attempts. And we talked about this the week before, whenever you're playing on a team that rushes the ball 60% of their plays, we've seen multiple times from the Eagles for the last 4 weeks have run the ball 69%, 58%, 59%, and 60%. That's insane. So if you're on a team that's running that often and you're only getting 30% of the rushing attempts, that's still pretty good. If Miles Sanders gets up to 50%, and then if he somehow got to 60 or 70%, you're talking insane potential numbers for Sanders. Of course, Sanders, he's one of these players, Drake, that, we know it's most likely it just gets stuck in our mind, but it feels like every time he starts to get momentum or things break his way, he self-destructs. He just does something or he just has bad luck, right? With an injury or something like that. It's like we saw it last year. He was kind of getting into a groove, got hurt, had some big plays, early in the season. Then we saw it again this year. Finally was starting to take over the backfield, and the Eagles were starting to transition to this run-heavy game, gets hurt. Comes back. In this situation, it's let's just feed you the rock over the first 3 drives. Let's see what you could do, Sanders. Fumble. Okay, and then you get to come back in later because of an injury and you have more problems with it. So we'll have to wait and see, but I'm encouraged overall because I think it's up to Miles Sanders. And at least you have that going for you, right? A lot of players were just, you and I, we talk about it off air. It's sometimes it's does the coach hate this guy? What's the deal? Why do they not want to get the ball? I think they want to get the ball to Sanders, but he's just going to have to do a better job protecting it. But man, Drake, if he gets to 55, 60% of the rushing attempts and a team running the ball this much, Miles Sanders is going to be a borderline RB1. So,
don't sleep on Boston Scott. If he's on your waiver wire, he's going to play the amount that this team runs. He could be a viable flex option going forward.
Yeah.
You've got Giants this week, Jets next week.
If Miles Sanders has issues, Boston Scott could be the lead back. So having these Eagles backs on your roster, I think, is a smart move. I don't really want to play Boston Scott this week, but to your point, and the same thing that goes for Sanders, it doesn't take a lot. Even if you only get 30%, they're running the ball so much, they're usable. Sanders is the one I'd rather play because I think he carries the true upside. I think Boston Scott basically needs Miles Sanders to screw up, to really give him a big role. For Miles Sanders, I think it's really on his own shoulders. He could come in and truly grow this role and take over more on his own. He doesn't need Boston Scott to screw up. He doesn't need Kenneth Gainwell to screw up. He just needs to not screw up himself, which makes me just like him, the most out of the trio, which, everybody likes, Sanders the most. So we'll see what happens. But the real RB1 on the team is Jalen Hurts. We all know this.
Oh, no question about it. And we mentioned it last week on the show. He didn't have a rushing touchdown since week 6. He was giving up all the RPOs to the running backs. Well, guess what happened this week? Play at the 1-yard line, calls his own number, he gets in, makes a Lamar Jackson ankle breaking run, gets in the end zone. So, you're going to keep playing him. Well, the Eagles this week are going to take on the New York Football Giants, and that sound you hear in the background is actually Jason Garrett now mowing Dwain's lawn back outside of Dallas, because Jason Garrett
he's mulching leaves.
Oh,
the grass
okay.
is good. Just needs to mulch the leaves.
Jason Garrett canned today by the New York Giants after just an abysmal showing on Monday night against Tampa Bay. We welcome back Saquon Barkley. I mean, it is what it is in this terrible offense. Ran 6 times for 25 yards, did have 6 receptions. There's a lot of playmakers on this Giants offense. Freddy Kitchens now is going to take over as the OC going forward. I don't know if you have any intel on Freddy Kitchens and how he might like to call offense, but I mean, geez Louise, you got Barkley, you got Kenny Golladay out there playing like 1 snap. You got Tony, like, let's do something here. Come on. And just not this week against Philly.
Yeah, I think Daniel Jones is a problem,
Sucks.
So, I mean, how much of this gets tied back to Jason Garrett? Yeah, he's got a hand in it. But, when you have bad quarterback play, man, it makes everybody look bad. And Daniel Jones is really struggling right now. I think he has under 10 fantasy points in like 3 games consecutively, maybe 4 of the last 5. Passing yardage is completely terrible over the last several games. And to your point, he has plenty of weapons. So let's see if Freddy Kitchens can spark something. I'm not super optimistic. I remember getting super excited about Kitchens with Baker Mayfield, right? And that didn't turn out so well. But we see these coaches sometimes not do well, land in a new spot, and get in a situation where they actually they do a good job. So maybe Kitchens can do that. I'm not holding out hope that's going to be the case here, Drake, but we'll see. I do think Barkley's going to be fine. I mean, he handled 62% of the snaps in this first game back, 50% of the rushing attempts, and you named it, the 6 catches, man. That's the magic.
Yep.
Like 6 catches goes a long way in a PPR format. And so that's the great thing about a player like Barkley, player like McCaffrey, Kamara, all these guys that catch balls. They can play really bad and still come through with these junky receptions and PPR formats and come up with, a performance that you can use. So Barkley's only going to increase his playing time. Like he'll be up to 70% probably this next game. Then it'll be 80, 85%. And then you'll be rolling through the playoffs if you have him on your roster. And those receptions are actually very huge because they also are what save you from a completely crappy offense, which is what the Giants have right now. So we'll hold out hope they get better. Kadarius Toney looked great as usual. 26% targets per route run over the last 2 games. That's freaking astronomical. Kenny Golladay in his second game back, looking over his last 2 games back, only 11% targets per route run. So that is terrible. That's the opposite of what we're seeing with Toney. Toney did get a quad injury late in that game, so we'll have to keep an eye on that, Drake, see if he's going to play. Could also get Sterling Shepard back, and 67% of Toney's routes on Monday night came from the slot, which is where Sterling Shepard will operate. So we'll have to see, does this turn into something where all of a sudden Toney's rotating off the field more, or he and Slayton are rotating outside? Because I think once Shepard's back, the inside role is probably his. So we'll have to see. But Toney is he's a boom bust wide receiver 3 type right now. You can call him a wide receiver 4 if you want. The bottom line is he can boom really big for you, but he could also bust depending on how they handle this rotation.
We got so many of our great friends in the YouTube chat right now, and we appreciate everybody that hangs out with us every Tuesday, 10 p.m. Eastern. We're going to get to your questions. We see them over there on the side, but we're just going to roll through our agenda first. But we see you. We'll just line them up in there. We got you. From one New York team to another, dumpster fire to dumpster fire, the Jets, I mean, there's a lot of places to start here. Let's start in the backfield. Michael Carter is going to be out for a few weeks. The rookie out of North Carolina was really starting to come on. So in his place now, you've got Ty Johnson and you've got Tevin Coleman. Now, everywhere I look, everyone's touting Ty Johnson. But I'm under the opinion, maybe I'm crazy, I think Tevin Coleman, with Wilson being named the starter this week, I think Tevin Coleman's going to be the guy carrying the load for this team. And maybe Johnson comes in and spells him as like kind of a third downish back. But call me crazy here. Do you see that too? Or are you putting more chips on Ty Johnson?
I'm putting way more on Ty Johnson just because the Jets trail all the time. Jets suck. You already said it. So they're going to want Tevin Coleman to be the lead back, and then reality is going to happen, and the Jets are going to be behind, and then Ty Johnson's going to get on the field. Tevin Coleman just really hasn't operated at all out of their 2-minute offense this year, out of their long down and distance. He hasn't had any of that. He's essentially been hey, we'll give you half of the early down carries. And then they get to the end of the third drive of the opposing team. They're like, well, shit, early down carries are out the window. We're just going to give it to, whoever we're throwing the ball to. So we'll see. I mean, I guess there's a chance Coleman takes over Carter's full role. I mean, if that happens, I think Coleman would be fine. I've just seen enough of Tevin Coleman, Drake. Like, he sucks at this point. Like, it's been too long. Like, what are we waiting on? Like, this has been, we're like 3 years past Tevin Coleman being anything. And so for me, I look at Ty Johnson. I think he is a player that has shown some things. He's had multiple top 36 finishes, even in a limited role. I mean, as recently as the last, before this last week, he had an RB 31 finish, an RB 16 finish. He had another top 24 or top 36 before that. So he's definitely the better option out of the passing game. I don't think there's any comparison at this point. So I want the player on this team that I think is going to get the most work in the passing game. I do think Tevin Coleman will get more of the rushing attempts. I think you're right on that. I think 30 to 40% of the rushing attempts go to Ty Johnson. I think he handles all the long down distance, all the 2-minute offense. I think Tevin Coleman sees 55% of the rushes. I just don't think in most game scripts for the Jets, that's the role you want. It's kind of like DeAndre Swift versus Jamal Williams in Detroit. It's like, Jamal Williams sounds really great, like for about a quarter. And then it's like, well, you're never going to see Jamal Williams again. I'm worried that's what's going to happen here with Tevin Coleman, because Michael Carter, he actually was a plus in the pass game. And so I think that's going to be the issue. I don't think you're going to see Coleman get any of those passing looks that we were seeing with Carter.
Your boy Elijah Moore, another big day, ran a route on 81% of Joe Flacco's dropbacks. But Joe Flacco's not there this week. He is a close contact of Mike White, who was tested positive for COVID. And of course, the Jets being the Jets, bring in an unvaccinated backup quarterback who is now useless to them and cannot even get out of the close contact protocol in time for the game. So my favorite Disney princess, Zach Wilson's back in at starter. Isn't it funny that you need multiple guys to go down? And I know Wilson had the MCL sprain, but you need multiple guys to go down to get the number 2 overall pick back on the field. Like, it seems like they just don't want to play this kid. Or these coaches have no idea what to do with him, but all right, whatever. Elijah Moore, can he continue this torrid pace that he's on the last 2 games with Zach Wilson? I mean, they're playing the freaking Texans this week.
Well, I mean, every other Jet quarterback has done it. If you look over the last 3 weeks between Joe Flacco, Mike White, and Josh Johnson, they've thrown for 1,001 yards and they've thrown for 7 touchdowns. So, I mean, look, yeah, Wilson he struggled early in the season. We know that, but he had a couple of decent games. So I expect him to come out and be fine. Hopefully he and Elijah, we just want him to keep Elijah Moore going. Let's be honest. Nobody is playing, Zach Wilson this weekend. You may be in a super deep QB flex format. You're like, oh yeah, Dwain, I am. But most people are not using Zach Wilson. All we really care about is Elijah Moore. And the number one thing we needed from Elijah Moore was what we got. 81% of the routes that had been 63% and 55%. So that's a season high for him. I mean, this guy's really been dominating, Drake, from a standpoint of targets per route run. He's the guy the quarterbacks are looking to. If you look at the last 2 games since Corey Davis has been back, you've got Elijah Moore sitting at 7% higher than what we've seen from Corey Davis over that same time period. So, I mean, in these 2 games where both of them have been out there, Elijah has been one on the field. He's been the player that really the Jets quarterbacks want to go to, and he keeps rewarding them because he comes up with big plays. He's got a wide receiver 1, a wide receiver 27, and a wide receiver 3 finish in that time. So Elijah Moore for me is a high-end wide receiver the rest of the way. Corey Davis is a low-end wide receiver 3, high-end wide receiver 4.
Well, they're playing against the Texans this week, and the Texans also in the news. What a week when we're talking Texans and Jets running backs to possibly add off the wire. The Texans let go Phillip Lindsay in kind of a shocking move. And I know already Phillip Lindsay's going to end up somewhere because he's a good back in my mind, and he's going to.
I would take him in Tennessee.
Like, yeah,
I would just give him to Tennessee and just give him like 60, 70%. Just
he's going to become a headache.
If he gets hurt, like, oh well, like you just picked him up off the scrap heap.
Well, the guys who are left standing or kneeling on their walkers are Rex Burkhead and David Johnson. Rex Burkhead ran 18 times.
Tennis balls on the front of the walkers, straight.
I don't even think that team can afford tennis balls. Rex Burkhead, 18 for 40 this week. And, they're playing the Jets. Jets defense stinks. stinks, folks. I mean, is Rex freaking Burkhead a waiver wire pickup in week 12 of 2021?
I don't think so. I mean, don't they have Freeman now?
Royce
Freeman? Yeah. My guess is that it's just going to be a 3-way committee, and now Royce Freeman's part of the backfield. I don't know. It's tough for me to get behind these guys, Drake.
All right, screw them. We'll move on.
Let's give the people some time back and not talk about the Texans.
Yeah.
If anybody objects, you could just tell us in the chat room that we're idiots, and we'll still ignore it and move on from the Texans. But we love you.
Well, let's hit on a couple more messy running back situations, and let's start in Seattle. Chris Carson's done for the year. We knew that was going to happen, but now we're looking at Rashad Penny's in the mix with Alex Collins, and we've got DJ Dallas and Travis Homer, and I mean, it's such a slow team, and they're so inefficient. That was the beauty of the Seahawks, is they were this great efficient offense, and they could kind of score on a dime. Now they're slow, and they can't score. So, I mean, what a mess. I got rid of all my Alex Collins shares. I want nothing to do with this running game, and I'm kind of out on the passing game myself, but you can touch on that if you'd like.
No, I mean, look, it's just sad, like, to see DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, like, just wasting away. It's one thing to talk about the backs, right? It's kind of a mess anyway. You know, it's a bunch of guys that you're not really wanting to lean on any of them, no matter what your team is like. But, man, looking at the Seahawks, Drake, for the season, regulation only, so getting rid of overtime, kind of leveling the playing field here. Last in plays per game, 54.1.
Ugh.
Last in dropbacks per game, 33 dropbacks per game. That's insane. The Chiefs drop back 47 times a game, to kind of put things in perspective. 20.9 rushing attempts per game, 27th in the league. So 32nd in plays, 32nd in dropbacks, 27th in rushing attempts per game on the season. And it's just as bad over the last 3 weeks. They're 30th, 22nd, and 29th. So we'll see if Wilson can get healthy. Like, look, we all love Russ Wilson. We know he's a great player, but obviously he's still struggling right now with the finger and maybe some other things too. Look, this has been going on since the middle of 2020. Let's face it, the NFL has figured the Seahawks offense out, and they have not had a counterpunch yet. You know, we thought that's what Shane Waldron was here to do. Shane Waldron hasn't done jack shit. So and who knows, maybe that's to do with Pete Carroll. But at the end of the day, all we know is it's the slowest offense. They're not efficient. I don't want to touch any part of the offense that I can get away from. DK Metcalf, obviously you're going to play him. Tyler Lockett, in most formats, you're still going to be playing him. And I am with you on the backfield. It's just too much of a mess. And it's just the plays per game. I mean, like, look, you need like a 90% rush share on this team to get what, like a 30% rush share on the Eagles would give you, like, in a rushing attempt, from rushing attempt standpoint. So yeah, it's just hard to trust. I mean, look, and Collins over the last 2 weeks been 91% of the rushing attempts, 53% of the rushing attempts. He's still the lead back on the ground, but he's not involved in the passing game, and they get behind. He hasn't had a 2-minute offense snap in 3 weeks. Hell, I don't even know. Like, I got to look back. The freaking Seahawks, that's the other thing. As much as they trail, they never use a 2-minute offense. They don't even know what that means. So it's just it's a terrible situation.
It takes them 2 minutes to get out of the huddle.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's actually, like, I need to, like, I kind of gave up on them about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and I see the high level numbers and I pay attention to those. And I mean, I have my certain key things I look for, but it's actually kind of like, it's hard to be as bad as they are. It's really hard to run as few plays as they run. It's
going to get blown up this year because Russ is going to force his way out of there.
Pete Carroll needs to be fired.
Yeah.
Like, do not, if you're the Seahawks, don't let Russell Wilson go. Get rid of Pete Carroll. Like, come on.
Yeah, because that's what's going to happen. Russ is going to go to the owner, and he's going to go, hey, listen, what are we doing here? I'm out of here. There's teams that would pay. I mean, geez Louise.
Put him in the Broncos. Put him and Aaron Rodgers on the Broncos, and we are good. Give one of them to the Steelers, one of them to the Broncos. Let's just see the fantasy points, Drake. Let the fantasy points flow. That's what we want.
Our guy Crunch in
you could say, you could send Teddy Bridgewater to Seattle and let him play that, that Pete Carroll ball. That'd be perfect.
Our guy Crunch in the chat room with a strategy I like to use often. I might drop Alex Collins to see if my opponents play him. And that's great. That's exactly what you want to do. It's what him, AP, all those guys. Oh, it's so great.
That's funny.
Good call out by our chat room. I posted the graphic that Penny did get hurt very, very early in that game with a hamstring. So we'll see what that goes. It doesn't matter.
Oh, right? Surprise. Rashad Penny hurt. Well, okay.
How about in Buffalo, where we're going from a 4-way to a 3-way, just kind of scrolling down the Pornhub options, and they've got now Matt Breida in the mix, along with Singletary, along with Zach.
This is a 4-way. You got to add Josh. You got to add Josh Allen.
Okay, we're staying on the same page. All right, I'm picking up what you're putting down. There's a lot to scroll through.
Yeah, it's just a downgrade, man. You don't want any of these players. Honestly, if you want one of these backs right now, the chip I'd put would be Breida, just because he's doing something with his touches. Could it go away tomorrow? Yeah. Can you trust really playing him? No. But if I was just to stash one on my roster, it would be Breida. Like, I just want the guy that actually is explosive. And listen, if the Bills are going to come out here and throw the ball, 70% of the time anyway, then just have the guy out there that's going to be able to give you something, on an explosive play basis. Like, why not? Like, I don't understand. It's not like, you're grinding out yards with Zach Moss. It's not like Devin Singletary is really doing much for you. So I know pass protection, all those things. Breida's a pretty slight guy, so I know that's part of it. So we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, it's just a complete avoid. You got a pass-heavy offense, and you got a 4-way committee. It doesn't get worse than that. Outside of, we actually did just talk about the worst, which is the Seahawks.
Crazy. Well, a couple more things I want to touch on the Thanksgiving games before we talk to our friends here in the chat room. The Bears are going to start Andy Dalton on Thursday versus the Lions. Justin Fields has a rib injury. So, don't start Justin Fields even in a 2 QB league. I don't know if you can start Andy Dalton in a 5 QB league, but I mean, you were going to get Tim Boyle
if
against
you can get 70-yard screen passes to Darnell Mooney, you might get something.
Yeah. Allen Robinson probably won't play in this one either. Like, this game starts at noon Eastern?
This game is inviting everyone just to sleep in on Thanksgiving,
or just start drinking sooner. Whatever works. Get up, start drinking. I saw a great post. I don't know who did it. I'm
glad I like all my in-laws. I couldn't imagine having to be somewhere with that damn game on and not liking the people you're around. That would be freaking terrible.
That was this meme. It was like a quarterback dropping back in the pocket, and above the quarterback it said, "Me trying to watch Tim Boyle versus Andy Dalton," and then like each lineman blocking a defender is like it has another caption. It's like people talking politics, people talking about when will you get married, someone talking about the vaccine, and it's like all these great things. It's just you as a quarterback just trying to watch this terrible game.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, fantastic stuff there. I also put in there, this is my direct note: who cares about the Lions? Goff, a game time decision. If not, we'll get Tim Boyle again. So hooray there. The folks want to know about Laviska Shenault because I am the president of the Shenault Haters Association.
Well, let's let you answer this then.
Okay. Well, Jamal Agnew went down. So Jamal Agnew now done for the year. I mean, how many guys have to get hurt? Our pal Ian Hartitz had a funny tweet about that. It's like it only took 58 guys to get hurt before Laviska Shenault could be realized. And do I still think they're going to go to him? No, probably not. It'll be somebody else. It'd be more Dan Arnold. I have no interest in bringing Laviska Shenault up. If they couldn't find a way to use him at this point, it ain't going to happen now.
And let's be fair. It's not just Laviska Shenault. This whole offense sucks. Like it's borderline. It's close to the Lions. Like here are the passing yards the last 3 weeks for Trevor Lawrence: 118, 162, and 158. I mean, come on. I mean, this is as bad as it gets right now. And Lawrence is a rookie, so this doesn't mean he's going to be like this forever. Like there's a lot going on. There's a lot to unpack with the Jaguars as far as the inadequacies, go and the way we could spread them across the team, including the coaching staff. But it's just, look, it's not a dynamic passing offense. It's a bunch of misfit parts, to be honest. And there's no cohesion as far as the offensive scheme. And they've been a bit snake bitten this season by the injury bug, losing Etienne right out of the gate, then you lose DJ Chark. And they just haven't been able to get things going. I do think it will mean a little bit more working back inside for Shenault. So I think that's a plus for him. But at the same time, like when you think about those passing numbers we just talked about, like, okay, even if we give, Visca a 25% target share, what, in a 150-yard passing offense? Yeah, no thanks. So there's just too many things that need to go right for me to get excited about Shenault. And it's not just him playing better. It's you got the quarterback, you got the coordinator, you got the way they're divvying up. There's so many variables in trying to figure out, like, navigate this path to success for Laviska Shenault. It's just nasty.
All right. Our buddy Ryan in the chat room asks us, Dwayne, about this Patriots running back situation. I myself traded away Ramondre Stevenson before the Thursday night game last week, wherever I had him, because I knew once Damian Harris came back, I mean, as great and as explosive as Ramondre looked, it's never going to just be his backfield. That's just not the way they operate. So what do you say to Ryan here, who's asking which Patriots RB will lead the backfield, or will it be a true committee?
I still give the edge to Harris, but I think Stevenson has shown enough to be even, it was always going to be a three-way backfield, but now it's just probably going to be a little bit more balanced. The positive for Harris was the fact that if you look at the first half of the game, he did handle 50% of the rushing attempts. 42% of Stevenson's carries came in the last two drives of the game, with really the Patriots icing. But that's part of the upside of Harris every week, right? Is we like the Patriots to be in these. When do you use Damian Harris? In a game you think that the Patriots are going to trounce their opponent. Well, now if that fourth quarter upside of being the guy pounding away, hopefully scoring another touchdown, belongs to Ramondre Stevenson, that's problematic for Damian Harris because he is a touchdown-dependent back. But we were seeing before his injury, you have to go back to week 8 and week 7, you're seeing 50 to 60% of the rushing attempts going to Harris. So even though he wasn't involved in the passing game, he was paired with a good defense, had a good coach that managed the game, kept things close. So there weren't too many scripts that got away from Harris. We knew that was always a possibility. And they were playing great inside the 5, and they like to run inside the 5. So all those things added up together to equaling Damian Harris really being, a low-end RB2, really more of a mid-range RB2. And he's looked great. To be honest, when I watch them, Drake, I think Damian Harris still looks better than Stevenson running the ball. I think he's a more powerful runner. I think he's more dynamic. I think he breaks more tackles. When you look at Stevenson, I think he might be the better all-round player. I think he's probably better in the passing game. I think he's solid in the running game. But I don't see a lot of explosiveness. I think Ramondre Stevenson, what I've seen with him are like some of the best block plays I've ever seen. And the guy's just running through these huge alleys. And I'm not trying to take away from Stevenson. I still like him. I think that Harris, though, is still the better early down back. So I think Stevenson needs some help to get there. Harris, he's going to get his role, I still think, is a little bit more settled than what Stevenson's is. But honestly, if I can stay away, Drake, I don't want to use either. I moved Damian Harris down basically a tier and a half this week at my ranks, just because I want to see what are they going to do. And I have he and Stevenson pretty close, but I have Damian Harris above.
Okay, I like that.
I'll have Damian Harris at RB26. I've got Stevenson right now around 28 or 29. So they're still close together.
A lot of folks are asking us about this Saints situation, and I know it interests me greatly. So Alvin Kamara, we're pretty sure Alvin Kamara is not going to play. But now this new news on Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram did not practice today. Again, they play Thursday against the Bills. So this is an interesting situation. In terms of running the football, the Bills gave up 264 yards on the ground. The only team that gave up more yards rushing, the Saints against the Eagles, 242. So people want to know, is this going to be Tony Jones Jr.? Are we going to see Ty Montgomery make an appearance? Dwayne Washington still there. He's been kicking around the team for a while. Or maybe it's just a mismatch of all three.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
And Taysom Hill.
I do think Tojo would lead the way in that situation. I'm not so
Did
sure.
You just come up with a nickname, by the way? Tojo.
No, I've heard other people say Tojo. Tony Jones. Yeah, other people said Tojo. That's pretty funny, huh? Yeah, I don't even know who first came up with it, but I hear Ian say it. Ian's like the king of nicknames. He's like, that's his thing. I'm not sure Mark Ingram doesn't play. If you look at, Nick Underhill, Saints, beat reporter, did say that he wasn't for sure that Ingram was going to miss. Today was really just a walkthrough. So it could have just been more to kind of give him rest. He was limited on Monday. It's a short week. He's a veteran. I think there's still a chance we find out tomorrow Ingram is the guy that's going to be on the field. So we'll have to wait and see. But if not, I would probably move Tony Jones. I would probably rank right around 21, 22, 23, low end RB2. If we get the announcement that Ingram's out. And I agree with you, Kamara's probably not going to play. Man, Ingram, talk about like a rejuvenation of getting to leave the Texans to come get to play with Sean Payton and someone that knows how to call an offense. 72% of the snaps last week, 76% of the rushing attempts, 68% routes per drop back, 23% of the targets. His targets per route run over the last 3 weeks, 45%, 17%, 30%. Like basically, even once Alvin Kamara gets back, I think Mark Ingram's going to hold RB3 value and still give you some RB2 weeks because like the Saints just, where else are they going? I think, we've seen, Peyton in the past manufacture touches for these backfield committees. Kamara will be the lead, right? But there's an easy path here for Ingram to continue to see value, especially how well he's performed. But and we saw it in week 9. He was RB24 on only 32% of the rushing attempts. And then he's been RB9 and RB11 since then. So Mark Ingram, man, right now, low end RB1 as long as he's out there.
Our good buddy Matthew Miles with a PPR flex question.
Matthew.
I can talk. Renfro, Pollard, or Ramondre Stevenson? Oh, boy. I think I'm going to go Renfro in this spot.
What is it? PPR you said?
PPR flex. Renfro, Pollard, or Ramondre?
Renfro.
There you go. See that? Dwayne and I on the same page.
I'm just following your lead, Drake.
Well, you and the rest of the industry. I know how it is. Let's see. Let me go through a few other things. Some other questions.
Jimmy G, Heineke, or however you write his name, or Big Ben. Oh, because he was saying the way Heineke spelled. You close enough.
Heineke, sneaky good this season, by the way.
Heineke's who I would go with, then Jimmy G, then Ben. That would be my order on that one.
What'd you think of Cam this weekend?
3 ways, 4 ways, Pornhub options. Drake, you're on fire. That's from Jay.
Thank you. So's my search history.
Who else do we got? Sorry, Drake. Take control.
What'd you think of Cam this weekend?
Oh, I thought Cam looked great. Look, dude, 36% of the design rushing attempts. Sign me up. Like, that's awesome. Like, and to be honest, like, he's right there with Hurts. Like, he's going to be in the same boat. He's not going to have quite as many rushing yards, but he's going to score the rushing touchdowns, and he could have more passing yards because we know that they're going to need to throw the ball a little more. So, I like Cam. I've actually got him ranked QB9 or QB10 on the week against Miami. Going to get a lot of that single coverage look. Going to be a chance to hit some big plays to DJ Moore. Going to be a chance to hit something to Robbie Anderson. So I do like Cam Newton. Hopefully you got him last week. If you did not get Cam Newton last week, and let's say your waivers haven't run and you're talking to us tonight and you're thinking about it, if you've been streaming, like, don't wait around. Like, do whatever you need to do to get Cam Newton. The other thing I would say is if you've got somebody sitting in 3rd place or 4th place that's been streaming and you're sitting there with, a Tom Brady or actually Hurts or one of the good quarterbacks, I would block someone like that if you thought the rest of their roster was good. Like, if I looked at them, I would go look at how many fab dollars do they have? Let's say because this happens all the time. You'll see somebody, that's got $100 fab dollars left out of their 1,000. You've got 300 left, and you're like, 102 on Cam, so they can't have them.
Hey,
Jalen Hurts point of the year where you got to do that stuff.
Jalen Hurts owners know he's got a week 14 bye coming still.
Yeah.
So, those are weeks you're going to be looking at Garoppolo. You're going to be looking at Heineke, Big Ben, see who's out there. All right. So we got one of our guys looking for FAAB information. I guess how we would kind of order this. Cedric Wilson, Ty Johnson, and Tony Jones Jr. Maybe we could set an order. We can set how much money we're going to spend on each.
Yeah, there's just so many unknowns on that list right now. So we got to find out for sure, is CeeDee Lamb playing, right? Going off the information that we have tonight, I would take Ty Johnson first because I think he gives you 2 to 3 weeks of RB2, RB3 play. Then I would say next would be Cedric Wilson, because you're at least going to get a wide receiver 3 on the offense this week, but more likely the wide receiver 2 for the Cowboys this week. So I put him next, and then after that, I would put Tojo, just because I kind of have I feel like based on what I've read so far, we're probably going to end up seeing that Ingram's going to play, and you won't have more information than that tonight when you have to handle your bids. But I would say, depending on how bad you need these things, I mean, we're late in the season. There's no reason to be shy. Honestly, Drake, at this point of the season, I spend less time thinking about telling people how much of their FAAB to spend, because I feel like your team and do you need to win this week?
Yeah.
And that's all you really care about right now. You're like, I got to win this week. Like, I need to win this game. And that's kind of the mode you're in. So if you feel like, let's say you're without Aaron Jones, and let's say your other running back is James Conner, and you're hurting terribly, and you need an RB2 this week. I mean, Ty Johnson, you do what you got to do. But I mean, I would say 10 to 20% is the general rule that I would use on Ty Johnson. And then I would say those guys are Tojo will be less, unless you read something, tonight.
Tojo nickname.
I mean, that's probably like, 5% on him. 'Cause you don't know if you get to use him. So you got to be a little more careful with him. But Wilson, probably similar to what we just talked about with Ty Johnson, maybe 5 to 10 instead of 10 to 20. But you know what you need to do. I mean, just do what it is you need to do to get your victory.
You know what you were doing.
You do you? Yeah.
And other guy out here reads, and there's no way in a million years I would have guessed Drake is older than me. See, Dwain and I look good with this straight on camera shot, but yeah, I'm 41. Dwain, you're what, 42, 43?
I'm 44.
Oh, gee, come on, lie. Dwain's 42 also. Yeah, everybody
okay.
else in fantasy football is 11.
Yeah, I love being 44. I'm loving life.
I always bust my SiriusXM co-host.
I'm young at heart, Ray. Young at heart.
Andrew Erickson, who I do the show with, and you do a start-sit show with, because he's like 16. So I always love messing when we come back from breaks and they're playing like Harvey Danger or System of a Down. I'm like, do you know who this guy is? Were you born when this song came out? I was like busting his balls on that. What's
funny is Andrew looks 18.
Yeah, I met Andrew
like
in person. I got to drink with him at the Fantasy Football Expo. We got to hang out.
Did he get carded everywhere?
Oh yeah, and we both have like backwards hats on, like we're in high school. I think he may be though. I love Andrew. We have a good time on the weekends.
Andrew's a great dude. Downgrade T. Higgins. No. T. Higgins' utilization is fine. Like, look, it's the Bengals passing game. Only 2 can survive each week because the volume's not there.
Yep.
So, I mean, we've had 8 games where all 3 of those receivers have been healthy together. 1 of those games, all 3 finish in the top 36. So it's just a matter of who the odd receiver out is going to be. More often than not, it's Tyler Boyd or T. Higgins, right? It's not going to be Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase has had a few weeks where he's, the odd guy out, but not very many. So, you just kind of got to stick with some of these guys unless you have a better option, because you know how it goes, Drake. As soon as you bench them, that's when they have their wide receiver 4 overall week. And the thing with T, like Higgins, is like Burrow's playing great. The Bengals are playing good. They've had some weird scripts here lately where they hadn't had to use the passing game as much. But like everything about T. Higgins' targets per route run is higher than Jamar Chase's this year. Right, 23%, and that's the beauty of a stat like targets per route run. Right, it can equalize for injuries and plays, not just games missed, plays missed. I love data points like that. So he's at 23%, 22% for Jamar Chase on the season. Tyler Boyd at 19%. So I mean, I look at it as Jamar Chase is the 1, T. Higgins is the 2, Tyler Boyd is the 3. And that's typically how it does play out. We just haven't had the big boom week yet from T. Higgins, but he's still a young talent that we like. Hit a lot of key thresholds last year as a rookie. Look, targets per route run, 23% at his age right now is still good, even if he hadn't done what he did last year. Mm-hmm. And so his routes have been nice, up to 92% of the routes last week. So that's actually his highest routes per dropback of the season. So all the underlying still look good for T. Higgins. Look, he'd been wide receiver 25, wide receiver 19, and then he was 73. I mean, these sort of things happen.
We're going to give you kicker and defense stuff here on the show.
No, we're not. Only Drake.
Hey, because someone has a defense question for us. Bears versus the Lions or Panthers versus the Dolphins for defense this week. I picked up the Panthers a week or so ago just to play them in this spot. But, I mean, Bears, hey, you're without Khalil Mack against the Lions. I mean, that game's going to be brutal to watch.
Khalil Mack's out.
Yeah, so, yeah, you're without him. I mean, the Lions offense is so inept. The Dolphins at least have a chance to score points. The Lions are a mess. You're just hoping.
But the Panthers, they have a much better defense.
Yes.
So
I know myself. I'm starting the Panthers in 2 spots.
Yeah, honestly, I want. I'm going with the Panthers just because, Miami's going to give you plenty of opportunities for sacks. They're going to give you plenty of opportunities for picks. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity in that game. And I like the Bears too, but the Panthers have just been the better defense. But when you look at these calls like this, I always want to play against the pass heavy team, unless it's a quarterback like Brady or the guys that get it out before you can even get a sack. Right. And Tua's been pretty quick. Like, I'm pulling the trigger. His average time to throw this year is 2.52. But here's what I love about the Dolphins. They're going to throw when they're trailing by 4 or more, plus 8%. When they're within 3 points, they throw the ball 6% more than the NFL average. When they're leading by 4 or more, they throw the ball 7% more than the NFL average. Neutral first downs, plus 5% versus the NFL average. Inside the 5-yard line, plus 9% versus the NFL average. So they basically are trying to be Buffalo South, right? They haven't figured out, how to get there yet. Buffalo's struggling on their own some, but there's going to be plenty of chances to sack Tua, to strip sack Tua, to get picks on Tua. So I think there's more chances for big plays for your defense in that game. To your point, Drake, that Miami could come out and score 28 points on them, right? You're not going to get that from the Lions.
Miami could legit win that game.
Yeah, but the Bears defense has been really bad lately. They're just missing a lot of key components, and their secondary is terrible.
As I mentioned, if you're following me on Twitter at Drake Fantasy, this could be a reason to unfollow me. The number 1 kicker over the last 4 weeks, Jake Elliott of my Eagles. 5 field goals of 50-plus yards. Upcoming games against the Giants and the Jets. Eagles' offense is much improved, but they stall in the red zone all the time. Again, if you need a kicker, only owned in 8% of Yahoo leagues. Number 1 kicker in fantasy for the last month. Go add Jake Elliott. Finally, our buddy Casey Campbell asked, did Josh Reynolds have a good utilization day this past Sunday? Again, he was just picked up off the scrap heap I believe, is he on the Titans now?
No, he's on the Lions.
Lions. He left the Titans. Now he's on the Lions. Yes, thank you for correcting me there. How did he look?
Yeah,
he's got freaking Tim Boyle throwing the ball.
96% of the routes, so it doesn't get better than that. 14% targets per route run. And look, you kind of got to throw everything out besides the fact that he got on the field for 96% of the routes kind of out the window, because you're playing with a quarterback you just met, in Tim Boyle. So you get a week now. So hopefully they'll have Goff back. Not that it's going to matter, even if it is Boyle again, but you get another week. So ultimately, the one thing we could really look at is routes, and he did do well in that. I mean, you could look at targets per route run, 14% isn't great. Look, Josh Reynolds is a player that we've hoped would, kind of blossom eventually. He never has. I don't know that I hold out a lot more hope, but he could easily be the Rams wide receiver 1 down the stretch. Look, Khalif Raymond's played well. He gets open. They just can't get him the ball. Not to say he's been great, but I think he's been a little bit underrated. Amon-Ra St. Brown is the guy that's going to operate from the slot, close to the line of scrimmage. Probably your best bet for your target leader. Not going to get it every week, but I mean, he's had 16%, 23%, 18% of targets. What am I doing? I'm talking about the damn Lions, Drake. Let's move on.
Yeah, it's time to shut the shop down. I did a poll. Yesterday, Dwain, and I didn't think it would be this lopsided because things change all the time in fantasy and in perceptions. I said, which QB would you rather build your franchise around today? Jalen Hurts or Daniel Jones? Now, the way the season's going, who do you think won that poll?
On who I would want to build
Who do you want to build your franchise around, Jalen Hurts or Daniel Jones?
Well, I mean, Jalen Hurts.
96% picked Jalen Hurts. I didn't think it was going to be that crazy.
3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, probably would have been, still probably Jalen Hurts. But, if you'd done it over the first 4 weeks of the season, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. Everybody hated Jalen Hurts just a few weeks ago and said that Gardner Minshew was going to take over.
This is the funny thing, and people think I'm like this self-hating Eagles fan. Jalen Hurts still can't throw the football. They're completely taking it out of his hands. If you want to listen, Fran Duffy and Greg Cosell do an incredible job breaking down. You think Dwain and I get in the weeds on some stuff. Holy smokes, the stuff they get into on their Eagle Eye podcast. And I mean, it's just Hurts doesn't throw. They don't want him to throw. He throws very few things. It's very schemed up. It's like one read, and if it's not there, he's taken off. But hey, it is what it is. They're running the Ravens offense from Lamar's rookie year. That's what this is. The Eagles are the Ravens from a few years ago. And there's nothing wrong with that until they can develop Hurts into what Lamar Jackson's become now. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. Lamar Jackson his first year couldn't throw either. And now look at them. They're throwing the ball more than anybody in the league. Right, Dwain?
Yeah, well, 12%. 12% above 50, Drake. So that puts him at what, 62%? You can find that information anywhere.
Yeah. So, well, folks, there's so many podcasts out there. We truly, truly appreciate you listening to this wherever you are across this great nation or across the seas. And if you come in and hang out with us on a Tuesday night, we truly appreciate it. From Dwain, myself, and our families, have a great Thanksgiving. Be thankful that you're back together, hopefully with your loved ones. Enjoy an afternoon of football. Drink something refreshing and think of your boys from the hustle. And God willing, we'll be back here next week, one step closer to the fantasy playoffs, cashing checks, hoisting those trophies, and doing what we love to do. So, Dwain, enjoy the holiday, my friend, with your family.
Yeah, man, you too. We appreciate you guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, folks. And remember to never get out hustled when you're going for that green